Be a leader, not a boss. If they don't know what they're supposed to do, they will be gone so fast.
Defining those things allowed us to now hire based on those things, ask questions based on those things, fire based on those things, promote based on those things. If you feel like you're constantly hiring, training, and starting over, this session is for you. In today's session, Brittany's going to walk through what actually causes people to leave and how to build a team that stays. These are the same principles we've used to grow our team to over 90 plus people. Watch it through. Let me know what stood out most to you in the comments below. Welcome. We are going to be chatting about culture, hiring, employee retention, which, as you guys all know, on these different Facebook groups and stuff, a lot of this stuff doesn't really get talked about that much, but it's borderline crucial for our businesses as we move forward, especially with the advancements in technology. We need to make sure that our people are really, really dedicated to the cause and the values that we set forth as leaders. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. If you guys wouldn't mind, while Brittany and I are going back and forth, if you guys could just mute yourself, just in case you know, like background noise and stuff like that. Anytime you have a question, throw it in the chat. Don't try to remember it. Just throw it in the chat. We will get to those. And if for some reason we run out of time, Brittany will answer those afterwards and we'll get those answers to you guys or send you a quick little Loom video or something like that. So, but appreciate you guys jumping in here real quick before we get started. So this session's recorded. All of these sessions are recorded. Nadine, do you want to walk through real quick just where they can find these on our website and what they need to do? Because I know some of this is brand new for how we've started to put these in like a library. So that way you guys can go back and listen to the ones from Laura Kelly and Brian Burton and Doug Wyatt and some of these people who are really, really, really smart and have some really great ideas. You can listen to them on demand anytime.
Yeah, we actually have a hidden page on our website that is for clients only. It is password protected. Thank you, Grace. Grace just hit me up with the link. That's why we pay Grace the big bucks. So I'm going to actually put that in the chat. And because it is for clients only, it is something that only you have access to, but it is, like Josh said, a great resource for all of the past AMAs. So it will go out with the follow-up with the recording that I'm sending out, but I just put that in the chat as well so that you can check that out while you're on today.
And these are all things you could share with your team too. So if you have general managers, service managers, field managers, whatever, office managers, and you want them to be a part of these discussions and learn some of the lessons and stuff that we do in these AMAs, please share that with them as well. It's for you guys and your team to help you guys grow. And that's why we do these sessions that really have nothing to do with marketing, because we know marketing is only like a little piece of the puzzle. We got a much bigger puzzle that we have to solve in order to successfully grow our businesses. And with that being said, Brittany, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your background and what kind of led you to be you're many things for Relentless, but you're also our person that gatekeeps all of the team members that come in. So if you want to give a little background on yourself, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So I'm Brittany. I'm the co-owner at Relentless. A little bit about my background is I was a hairdresser for 10 years. So really focused on customer service and taking care of the clients that were in my chair. After doing that for many years, I transitioned over to HVAC, doing residential sales for a couple HVAC companies, where I also learned, more about customer service and taking care of people. I've always been a people first person. My whole goal in life is to help people as much as I can in any aspect of life. So then after the HVAC residential sales, I was a territory sales manager for a little while as well. Got to understand more with the business owners and struggles that they were having. Really enjoyed doing that. Really enjoyed the conversation with the business owners and what kind of issues that they were experiencing. And then Josh and I opened up Relentless Digital, and I did do a bunch of different things, but I always fall back into like the customer experience side of things and then the hiring and culture. Our biggest thing when we started Relentless was I wanted to have a workplace that people wanted to come to work and they didn't just feel like a number. I worked at many of places where I just felt like I could leave and they'll just replace me. It's not a big deal. And that no one wants to feel that way. They want to feel like it's their second family. They spend so much time working at a company that culture was so important to me. And, how do I develop a team that people wake up and say, I want to go to work, not I have to go to work. So that's kind of what leads us to what I do now and on the topic of culture and hiring.
Yeah, and I will say Brittany has been, for the entire time we've had Relentless, she's been kind of my Swiss Army knife. She has bounced around to different roles in the company, doing sales when we needed it, doing managing our customer experience team when we needed it. She also manages the finances. She does a whole bunch of, she actually did website onboarding at one point too, which feels like a lifetime ago. But when we decided that we were going to start hiring team members, we made some mistakes along the way. And I guess, Brittany, let's start with that, because I know sometimes everyone thinks when people put out their stories, it's like, wow, they got everything figured out. Like, they must be amazing. They must never make mistakes and they're perfect. And I would love to be like them, but I'm not. I'm flawed. And to go through some of the stories that we had, and some of the things that we've experienced that helped us grow as leaders and understand how we can make sure that we bring on people that fit the culture, not people that we needed because we needed warm bodies to fill a seat, and maybe go through some of the feelings that we had when we had that first kind of run in and some issues with our culture before we really started growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Our culture wasn't always great. We did have a lot of things to learn. We didn't have a great process for hiring, which was part of the issue. When we were smaller and we were hiring for different positions, we kind of just brought in somebody that had experience that maybe we didn't have, but we weren't really looking at the culture aspect of it. And we did bring in some good hires that were super smart and were really good at their job, but culture-wise, they were a killer. We ended up having what I would call a bad apple that can ruin things very, very quickly. And then it's like, oh, I know someone who's really good. So I learned, do not ever hire someone that are super close or related or anything like that, because that usually does not end well. But we did bring in these two people, and it did not go well. And it really did hurt our culture. It was very toxic. And after that happened, we're like, okay, we need to figure out one, a better process to hire. I think that's where a lot of companies fail, is they don't have a process for hiring. So that's the one aspect of it. And then really focusing on questions that are focused on culture. Because again, we want to bring people into our company where they want to help each other. They want to work together. It's not just them against the world. We want people that want to be teammates, see each other grow. So once we had a couple bad hires, Josh and I kind of got together and be like, okay, we need to figure something out where we're bringing in people that are a good fit for the right person in the right seat, but also culture wise. We had good people, but sometimes they weren't in the right seats. And we needed to focus a little bit more on that and what their skill level was, personality, things like that.
Well,
So,
with that, Brittany, with with that being said, so one of the things that I think was really challenging for us is, just like any company that's starting up, we're starting to get the ball rolling, sales are coming in, we're fulfilling, and we figured out some scalable, repeatable processes, and now we're trying to bring in team members. At this point, and this was before we moved to Arizona, so 4 to 5 years ago, somewhere in that ballpark, we had no value system that was written down, that was prepared and shared with the team. And you all have heard, got to have core values, but like actually building core values based on what who the team is and what you want the team to be is not the easiest exercise to do, because a lot of times, I mean, there's coaching organizations that will literally help you like swipe and deploy their core values. I worked at a company that we swiped and deployed someone else's core values and just made them fit, which didn't really speak to who we were, because we were in a completely different state than this company, completely different market, completely different people. And one of the things and I hope most of you guys have at least you guys all know who you are and what type of people you want to attract. So one of the first things that we had to do is we started reading the book Traction, which was by Gino Wickman. It's all about the EOS operating system. And literally the first part of that book was core values. Figure out what those are first. And it took us a bit, but defining those things allowed us to now hire based on those things, ask questions based on those things, fire based on those things, promote based on those things. And that became the central focus of everything that we did. So just as like a tactic for you guys, if you don't have those, they're not written down and you don't talk about them with your team, like literally today, every Thursday, we have a rotation that goes through our Slack channels. We use Slack internally, and it focuses on one core value. Today's was be relentless, which is our first core value. And team members start sharing stories of their teammates being relentless. And it gets everyone engaged in that process. And this happens every week. This is not like a once in a while thing. It's like, oh, I get inspired and I want to send out a message to my team. It's every single week. It's that level of consistency that a lot of companies miss, because we get inspired. We see a post on Facebook or we hear a podcast, like, oh, I got to do that thing. And then it's the follow through the next week and the week after that usually comes up short because we implement things one time and then we don't implement a process to make sure it continues. So that's where we started. And then from there, it got to a point where Brittany basically fired me from hiring people because I would hire based on skills and need, and was bringing in people that did not stay for a very long period of time. And we didn't want them to stay after we learned more about them. So I don't know, Brittany, when was that process? Like, when did you officially stop getting me on interviews?
Pretty quickly. Wasn't long.
So speaking of interviews, can you walk us through like the entire, because our hiring process has changed tremendously over the past few years. And I feel like this is a big piece, because if we don't bring in bad apples, we don't have to worry about them hurting our employee retention and the culture in our company. So can you walk everyone here on this call, including like the tools we use and stuff, like what does the entire hiring process look like for us and why do we do each of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So we use a tool that's called Who Hire. It's actually built for the trades. It's not built for digital marketing. We just kind of tweaked it to make it work for us. And the reason that we absolutely love that tool for hiring is they have to go through all these different processes before they actually get to the interview. So they go ahead, they apply, they have to answer some questions that will disqualify them right away. If they don't have the level of experience, it disqualifies them. Then there's something called a Reggie blueprint that basically just tells them like what flight risk they are to our company based on all the questions that they answer. So typically we want someone that has an 85% or better for flight risk. And those are pretty accurate. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is pretty darn accurate. After they go through that, if they get a high enough score, they're going to do a video interview. So we come up with 3 questions depending on what role we're hiring for. And then they'll do the video. It's like a minute long of each question. Then that gets sent to us for us to review. And then at that point, after watching the videos, we're going to decide if we want to move on to an interview face-to-face over Zoom. So that process has helped eliminate a lot of going through resumes. I mean, we have some openings that have like 1,000 applicants. Who has time to go through that many applicants? Not many people have time, nor do they want to. And it's not fun. And people lie on their resume or they make it better, things like that. And so the fact that we don't have to go through all that, we have a system where, okay, we're only interviewing maybe 15 people. We can actually take the time to actually get to know them and learn about them. So that's a little bit about the tool that we use for hiring.
You
So
name the tool? If you did, I forgot.
Yeah, Who Hire.
Okay. Yeah. So Who Hires? So we've actually made it work for us. It's actually built for you guys. Who Hire is completely, yeah, it's completely built for the trades. We've had to kind of make it work. I ended up interviewing Jonathan on the podcast like 2.5 years ago, and immediately needed a demo. So there are other applicant tracking softwares out there, but that is one that's built specifically with your guys' needs in mind. and the platforms that you guys typically are going to try to hire people from. That's why it's something that we wanted to use right away.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the next thing I kind of wanted to go into is when I am interviewing people, we do have a process. It changed recently. I'm always the person that will do the culture fit. I might not always be the person interviewing for a certain position because that's not my skill set and what we're looking for, but I will always have that last interview for culture. And the reason I do that is because not everybody is good at reading people. So you want someone that can interview, that can read people and understand, different personalities, things like that. And that is one thing that I'm very, very good at, which is why I do the culture part. But during my interviews, I'm not asking about their skill set. I'm letting the other interview ask about what they know, what their skill level is. I want to know, who are you as a person? What do you like to do outside of work? One, it tells me a bunch of different things. Tells me who they are, what are their core values in life? What do they enjoy? Will they be a good culture fit? So asking who they are, what they like to do for fun. I always want to know what people's goals are. What are your dreams? What are you working towards? I typically say the most successful people that get further in life have goals. They have targets. They're working towards something. So if someone tells me, I don't really have anything, well, they're probably not a go-getter. They might be a little bit more lazy, and I don't want someone like that. I always look to see if people are super engaged in my interviews. If I see them looking all over or doing other things, that's a red flag for me. I don't care how experienced you are. If you're not engaged, you're not into it, that's a big pass. The other thing that I would say is I only want to hire people that really want to work for our company. So if you are interviewing with a bunch of people, or you just want a work from home position or this or that, then you're not going to be a good fit. If you come to my interview and you know about my company, you know what we do, you know how you can make an impact, you're absolutely a go-getter and you would fit into our culture really well. So really diving into finding out who they are as a person, not just their skill set. You can teach.
Sorry, I was going to ask you about that last piece, because I think there's an important nugget that we could share in there. So you mentioned about the company, like what sorts of things are these applicants that you're talking to? What are they telling you that they're looking at when they said, oh, because they'll have questions about different things, or what are they looking at and where are they finding that information?
Yeah, so I'll always ask them, what I always said, hey, what made you apply here? What do you know about Relentless? And they will say what they know. But the things that I'm looking for is they read our job description thoroughly. So they're like, oh, this core value that, makes shit happen. I absolutely love that. It resonated with me, and this is why. So they actually read through the whole job description, our core values. I looked at your website, and so and so's website looks amazing. So little things like that they took the time to do the research on the company versus just applying to 50 different companies to get a job. Because I don't want someone that just wants a job. I want someone that wants to work for like a second family, be close, grow, and do a phenomenal job. So those are the things that I look for when I ask about that.
Yeah, and it's so important to look. I have this conversation a lot. I post about a lot about business owners and leaders getting their face out there and putting content into the world. I can't tell you how many times, even when I was on the hiring side or just Brittany passed, oh yeah, they watch this or they watch that. People are looking. They're always watching what you're doing. So if you're putting good out into the world and you're trying to help other people and you're trying to help your community, they will see that and it will resonate. You will find better applicants by that. If you don't put anything out in the world and they don't know much about your company, you kind of like throwing a dartboard or throwing a dart blindfolded, because you're going to get whatever you get. But it's called attraction marketing is really the key of this, is to constantly be putting good things into the world, good vibes into the world. It does come back to you in the form of good people wanting to apply with you. We have people all the time reaching out, even though we don't even have jobs listed for them, that want to reach out to us, or people that there's a company that laid off a bunch of people and they already had us on their short list because they've seen us around, they've seen us at different events, and see how we present ourselves at trade shows and in these different settings that we're all in, and how we're always engaged with that. So that's why those things are so important. And I know it's a long game and it's really hard to like put a data point or a KPI behind it. I just know that it works. And that's why I try to share that stuff as much as possible. And that's why I wanted Brittany on here to really focus on some of these things, because this stuff works. And it worked in the trades. It works outside of the trades. We can talk about a few things kind of trade specific, because I know we're sharing information that's helped us grow Relentless. But this stuff's also, both of us have been a part of successful companies that were in the trades. Brittany, her last sales job was at a $10 or $12 million HVAC company in Wisconsin, which is a pretty big company in Wisconsin. And then, of course, I was part of professional services that got acquired by PE shortly after I left. And one of the things that I think it's a little different for us on the digital marketing side. One of the things that I think the biggest transitions, and we know this because we have two 17-year-old boys that want to get into the trades, there is a shift happening right now with younger people. Younger people are wanting to get into the trades. And I think there's obvious reasons behind that. There's a lot of technology that is coming out, coming very fast. We don't know all what that's going to look like here in the next few years, but we do know that people are starting to not focus so much on going to college and focusing on getting in, learning plumbing, learning electrical, learning HVAC. And I think one of the biggest lessons I learned in the trades was to set up our own training system for new hires who have zero experience. And I know that's not what everyone wants. Everyone wants the rock star tech that can jump in a van and start selling today, right? We all want that. Those people are pretty locked up typically. They're not really on the market too much. But having a training system, and maybe we can go a little bit of the training system that we have, Brittany, for especially our client-facing team and some of our other team members, and then we can kind of relate that to the trades, because we did the same thing in the trades. But do you want to go into especially our client-facing?
I still have something to say before you interrupted me. Josh interrupts me all the time, guys, so I have to just like patiently wait to jump back in. So the one other thing that I want to add about hiring was, I will get off these interviews and they will email me and be like, I am even more excited to hopefully get the position at Relentless based on everything you said. The other point that I really wanted to make clear was, when I'm on these interviews and I'm talking about them working here, is we're a very collaborative company and people have a lot of ideas and they want to be heard. So when I say, okay, you can, Relentless, we collaborate, we listen to your ideas, we learn, we can grow together. People absolutely love that. So the biggest thing, the last thing I guess I want to say for hiring is making sure that you're actually listening to what the people are saying, because you're going to get a lot from an interview about someone and what they're looking for. But understanding the words that are coming out of their mouth and what is important to them is something really to focus on. I know a lot of people do interviews and they're kind of in one ear out the other, but if you actually listen to the words that they're saying and what they care about, you're going to bring on really, really good people. So something to think about for hiring. Now, Josh, you can go into your question, but I do want to make sure that I have time to talk about culture, because I think that is super important. I've met with so many contractors that basically, I just want to give one quick story, is we had a contractor owner that was having a Christmas party, and he's like, I don't like my techs. They suck. They're lazy. I don't like them. And I was like, well, you should really invite them to your Christmas party. Like, you're inviting people, but he didn't want to invite them. And to me, that was like a huge red flag. Like, why are you having people that you don't want to invite? Like, you're obviously not hiring good people. You're not a good leader. So I had a good conversation with him where he did end up inviting them, which was a nice thing to do. But I do want to make sure that I have time to go into culture, because it is so important for growing your company and having a good atmosphere that everybody enjoys going to work. But before we go there, you can ask your question, Josh.
Needless to say, with the interruption, because if I have something to say, sometimes I have to
interrupt.
Otherwise I forget and I interrupt, and Brittany reminds me very often that I need to shut up and stop, or she'll text me on the side when I'm talking and be like, you need to wait your turn. So
Yep.
Case in point, having people in your life and in your business. Now, it may not be your significant other. Maybe it is. Listen to them, because they are pointing you in the right direction and trying to help you. Because I think sometimes as CEOs, founders, leaders, we think we know it all. I get reminded often that I don't, and it's a good thing. It's don't take it as like a personal attack. It is a good thing. There's been many Facebook posts that I've been urged strongly to take down after I posted. And she's like, you can't post that online. So you got to have good people in your corner. And that goes for your personal life as well, because I don't want to get too deep into this, but like I've had some people in my personal life much younger that family members, I had to remove from my life because it was toxic and it was bringing me personally down. And that stuff can affect, we all know personal life, professional life, that stuff, we all say there's a balance and a split. There's no split. You carry from one to the next and you try to transition, but there's no split. You carry that stuff with you. So it's important to always have good people that actually want you to succeed in your life and to cut out or remove the ones that don't. So that's not the question I was going to go into. Now we are going to transition it into culture and kind of like some stuff behind the scenes, because that's great. We hire the right people. We focus on core values, but what makes people want to stay is really what's next. Because once we get them in the door, that's just part of the battle. If they come in and they're all excited and then these other things are not set up for them to succeed and grow in their career, they're going to leave and they're going to leave your company. Now you're going to be starting over again. So Brittany, I'd like you to go into some of the things that we have set up over the last few years that have helped us get to a point where we're able to, win an award like an Inc. Best Workplaces and stuff like that, because our team loves being here. So what would you say some of those things are that we've set up and things that you'd recommend for contractors?
Well, the first thing I want to say is, what is a culture killer? This one comes to my mind right away when it comes to culture killer is when you are the owner of the company and you think that you know everything and you could do it better than everybody. I have noticed that is a huge problem with owners is I can do it better. No one else can do it as good as I can. Nobody cares about the company as much as I do, which sure, nobody does care about the company as much as you do. But what I find has helped us be super successful with our culture is Josh and I have our skill sets that we're really, really good at. We have things that we're not so good at. So instead of trying to think that you're better than everyone and you know everything and you don't want to let go and you don't want to delegate, the second that you start delegating things that you're not good at, I know that's a hard thing to admit, but there are a lot of things that us owners are not good at. So as soon as you admit that and you hire people to do those and you delegate, your culture changes like that. That's the first thing. The second thing is being, I know you're a boss, but take the boss out of it and use the word leader. Your job is to be a leader. You are here to mentor all your employees so they can be super successful, make a lot of money, have the house that they want, the car that they want. So be a leader, not a boss. The other thing I want to say, hold on, Josh. The other thing I want to say is, as an owner, you have to be able to do anything that anyone else would do. You can't expect someone to do something if you're not willing to do it. As simple as cleaning a toilet. If you're not willing to do it, they're not going to be willing to do it because you're not showing them. So be a leader, not a boss. I think that is super important. The other thing that I want to add is, with culture, be present, be available, and be approachable. A lot of times people feel like they have a hard time going to their boss, telling them a problem, or, hey, I screwed up. And then you get mad and you yell at them, or they get in trouble. Use it as a learning. I had an employee come to me the other day and say, hey, Brittany, I accidentally did this. I'm so sorry. I said, hey, it's okay. Thank you for owning your mistake, and we can fix it. Not a big deal. But a lot of times people just want to get mad or move on or get in trouble. Take the time to actually listen to what they're saying to help them. Also, as an owner, own up to mistakes that you make. We will all screw up at some point in our life multiple times. So if your employees see you making a mistake, but you're owning up to it, they're like, wow, even they make mistakes. So those are certain things that really help your culture. Looking for team players, people who care. So we want people to come in that want to help one another. They want to see each other succeed is beyond anything else that I could ask for when hiring people and having a really good culture. Because like I said, a bad apple can ruin your culture so fast. And then the other thing is, obviously praise in public and then have tough conversations behind closed doors. The more that you praise, the better. The other thing that I love seeing people do, and some of the things that we kind of implemented when I was at different HVAC companies was, how can we have certain programs where people are rewarding other employees for doing something good? When you do that and you have team members talking about other team members and the good things that they're doing, it just builds this amazing culture where people truly feel like a family. Having that family feeling is what people want. And the last thing that I wanted to say too about that was it is hard nowadays hiring because you have so many different generations. You have the Gen Z, you have millennials, and you have to approach every generation differently. The older generation, they're like, let's just get to work, let's get our shit done, and let's leave. No, the Gen Z, they want you to say, good job for showing up for work today. Here's a cookie. The generations are very, very different. I know it's funny, but it is absolutely true. So making sure that you're approaching different generations differently because their attitudes and their personalities are very, very different. Then the last thing, that was the second last thing.
You keep adding last things.
Yeah, I do that often. Another thing that is super important though is understanding what's important to your team member. Do they care about PTO? Do they care about making more money? What do they actually care about? Because everybody cares about something differently. Some people want more time, some people want more money. And I think if you understand and have those conversations, you can focus on what's important to them. Go ahead, Josh.
Can you go a little deeper? So, because there's a structure to how we have these conversations. So I'd like you to go into how we have structured that. So that way we're having regular conversations about these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started doing monthly one-on-ones. So the leader of that department does one-on-ones with the teammates. So that's a time for them to talk about how they feel, if they have any issues. Sometimes we'll have personal conversations of, hey, this isn't going so good at home, or things like that. Or, hey, I really want to buy a house. Can you help me come up with a plan to get there? Absolutely. Let's take the time to do that. That's their time once a month to talk about anything that they need so we can better understand how they're doing, what they need, and then we're able to give them feedback on a monthly basis of what they're doing good, what they need to improve on. It's also a time for them to give feedback to their manager. So it's a really great time to listen. We always tell people it's a super safe space. You can say what you want, no judgment, nothing like that. And I think that's where a lot of companies fail is the employees don't feel like they can talk to their manager, or they're being judged, or they're not actually listening. So again, having those conversations, but listening to the words that they're saying will make the greatest impact.
And I would say, so some of you guys may be thinking like, oh, one-on-ones, and you don't have a manager outside of yourself. So you're the person that has to do these one-on-ones right now. The best thing you can do is schedule these things as recurring meetings and start implementing it, because it's going to feel awkward at first, especially if you've never done it. Because, when coming through these other companies, I never had monthly one-on-ones. I had annual reviews, and we've had team members before we implemented this, even though we literally love them, and we knew we were going to give them a raise and praise them, they were so nervous coming into a one-on-one because nobody had talked to them previous throughout that year how they've done. They didn't know where they stood. What a terrible way for a team member to feel coming in, being so nervous. They're sweaty, they're clammy. They don't know what to expect on this annual review, because they're like, I have no idea how well I've done all year. We need to make sure that they understand those benchmarks throughout the year. And then we can, because if they're not doing a good job, Should we wait until month 12 to tell them they're not doing a good job, or should we just tell them that month so we can course correct and we can either figure out if this is the right team member or not? And these are all little checkpoints for you guys as leaders of your business as well, to make sure that people are staying on track and your leaders and people who are doing these meetings are staying on track. One of the other things that we've implemented quite a bit is communications training for all of our managers as well, to understand how to ask better questions and facilitate that for all of those team members. Because we have, I think our monthly our monthly manager meeting has like, I don't know, 15 or 16 different managers in it now. Because like our SEO strategist has 3 or 4 team members under them. Same thing with we have team leads for our client success team. We have web team leads, and they all have people underneath of them. So we've gotten to the point where we have to make sure that the message is coming from us in a centralized way that gets dispersed among the team members. Nadine's got 5 or 6 or 7 team members in the marketing department now. But we also have to train those team members on how to have those conversations. And some of that might be self-learning for yourself as well, especially if you've never really continued to enhance your skills as someone that has these conversations. And I would say one of the biggest things, Brittany mentioned the one-on-ones and the conversations that get had. She mentioned praise in public, and then have, if you have to scold in private. Not sharing those conversations with other team members, especially the ones where you're scolding them. Don't be the gossip mill and go tell someone else, another leader. Go keep that stuff in a silo, because then you will earn trust. And if that trust gets broken, you've pretty much lost that team member. You're not going to probably get them back. And like, we have team members all the time. Like, literally, Brittany's not even their direct report anymore, because she's built trust with that person. They come to her with stuff about their relationships, their kids, their health, their family's health. Like, she is on the ground floor of hearing all kinds of things. And those team members love having someone to talk to that they know is not going to judge them based on whatever's going on in their life. We have a team member that's she's lost her dad in the last 6 months. Her boyfriend's going through cancer treatments. That's a lot for someone to deal with. And then she's only been with us for like 6-7 months. To be able to learn the job and do all of those things and have a place where she can have an outlet where she can vent, or someone she could talk to, it's helped. She's actually starting to get on a workout routine and starting to take care of her health and stuff like that again, because she doesn't want this to happen to her. But she needed someone that she could talk to about that. And with you guys all probably have some sort of idea, like Brittany and I have been on our own health and wellness and fitness journey here over the last 3+ years. What's been one of the most rewarding parts for us about this, granted, we love being in shape and feeling good and not having joint pain, all that kind of stuff that comes along with, well, I'm in my 40s, Brittany's getting close, is seeing team members take it upon themselves by watching us, and family members by watching us, start taking care of their health and start asking us questions and start moving towards that direction. I mentioned this, maybe it was early on in this conversation, like, people are always watching. Your team members are always watching. Your kids are always watching. Your family is always watching, whether you think they are or not. And it's important that we set good examples for them. So if they see you doing something that you should not be doing, but you're telling them that they shouldn't be doing that thing, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to believe in you. And so it's really, leadership is all about self-improvement. It's really what it's about, is improving yourself, improving your overall state of mental and physical well-being, and then team members following behind you and getting on board because they want to be part of something. Everybody wants to have a path. When they don't have a path is when they struggle. And that's really the biggest learnings I've had from, being an employee at 3 different HVAC companies to being someone that we have to set the tone for the rest of the team. So when I don't feel like doing something, or Brittany doesn't feel like doing something, we do it anyways, because we know that we have people watching and counting on us. Because if we fail, they're gonna be like, oh, it's okay for me to fail. And that's one of the most important lessons that I've learned through this journey. And I'm sure Brittany has some thoughts on that as well. But it's been a very rewarding piece of this entire thing. Now, I know we've in already 40 minutes, we've shared a lot of tactics and things that we've learned. What?
I'm going to interrupt. I was told to interrupt you if I have something to say. So I'm going to interrupt you here real quick.
You don't give her that permission.
There is something that I wanted to also really talk to you guys about is retention of your employees. So how do you keep your employees? There's always someone that's going to pay more. There's always a bigger company that's going to have more money and going to pay them more. So that is one thing that I have learned throughout this journey. Are there digital marketing companies that are way bigger than us that can pay more? Absolutely. But one thing that keeps your retention with your employees is a couple things. Do your employees understand what is expected from them? That is the first thing. If they don't know what they're supposed to do, they will be gone so fast. The second thing is, do they have a path to grow at your company? And what does that path look like? Are you helping them get there? Are you getting them extra training if need be? Those are super important. And I hear that all the time of, you know, I love where I work because I know what I need to do. I know what's expected of me and I know what my growth is here. So many people do not have that figured out. And people are like, I don't understand why my employees keep leaving me. Well, 9 out of 10 times, that's why, because they don't know what's expected from them. So making sure that you are setting clear expectations will be a huge thing for you guys.
Can you talk about how because I would say the closest thing that we have to, like, granted, they're not technicians, but our client facing team, which is our onboarding specialists and our client success managers, are the people who communicate with you guys. And so obviously it's very important for us, just like your technicians and your installers are the ones that are talking to your homeowners. A lot of times it's not you guys anymore. At least hopefully it's not, and you guys are able to build the business. What what kind of things can you share as far as like lessons we've learned on training our team, the frequency, the consistency, and what that looks like? Because I feel like that's an important piece, is that ongoing training component. And then once you share your answer, I will share what we did at professional services that helped a lot as well for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming from the trades, obviously, Josh and I both coming from the trades, we did a lot of training, which was super important. So when we had Relentless, our biggest thing was we need to keep training just like we would train techs. So typically we would do a 3 days a week of training, especially with our client experience department, the ones that are working with the clients, making sure that they're not just an order taker. They know strategy. So training on strategy, training on the industry, the seasonality of it, training on communication, different tools. So that way our client success team can be proactive with their clients. Hey, it's going to start, getting a little cooler, but not too cold. So how do we be proactive with our clients to make sure that they're not super slow during certain times? But we focus heavily on training because it is so important. And then people feel like they keep growing as an individual, personally and professionally. A lot of our trainings, we also do a lot of role play. Role play is the best thing to do. So many people hate role playing. It makes them feel uncomfortable. They don't want to do it. But the more you role play, the more comfortable you are having those conversations. We did a lot of role playing when I was at an HVAC company and I did sales. There were 6 sales guys and 1 saleswoman. And we did a lot of role play of different objections, closing the door before we get to the pricing, closing all those objections. So role playing is huge. You'll get a lot of people that say, no, I don't want to do that. I'm uncomfortable. But the more uncomfortable they are, the more that they're going to grow.
And wouldn't you rather have them be uncomfortable in a confined, controlled space than in your customers that you're paying probably a couple $100 at least to acquire, and then they have to face plant because they don't know how to talk to them in the home, or they don't know how to present options, or they don't know how to handle objections inside the home? That's really where, and it's hard. Like, it's hard. Role playing's still nerve wracking for me. Like, I don't like doing it. Brittany doesn't like doing it, but it is a very important component to everything we do. And what I was going to say, I mentioned like some younger people wanting to get into the trades. And one of the biggest eye-opening experience I had was like late 2019, early 2020, when I was at professional services. I wanted to start, because I saw some other companies that were doing really well start hiring and implementing their own training program. And it's not an easy thing to do, especially we maybe $2 million at that time, $2.5 million. Like we weren't a big company. We didn't have a big shop. We didn't have this nice fancy ecosystem at our business. But one of the things I realized is that in order for us to scale and to continue to grow, like a lot of the applicants we would get that had 5, 10, 15 years of experience and were on the market were not people that I would ever want in my own basement. They come in, they smell like they smoked a pack of cigarettes that day, and literally it just reeked. They couldn't communicate well. They were a disheveled mess. And if they showed up to an interview like that, how are they going to show up to your customers' homes once they have a job and you're paying them? So one of the things that was an eye-opening experience for me is we hired someone who he was 42 years old at that point. He had never been in the trades. He just finished his contract as a college theater director, like setting up for UW Milwaukee, setting up sets and plays for UW Milwaukee. He's 42 years old. He wanted to change the scenery. Fantastic person, really good person, great listening skills, great communication skills, had a little bit of mechanical aptitude. And so we ended up taking a flyer on him. It's not a normal hire that we were making at that time. And we put him through, we used Interplay Learning at that point, which is a virtual program where you can assign training. So I used that, and I broke their entire HVAC program into short snippets. So like this week was training 1 and 2. Next week was 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and so on. And then what we did is a feedback loop of they would come on Fridays and we would draw straws, literally draw straws. And then whoever got the short straw had to teach it back to the entire group. And there was a point in time that we had a very young duct cleaning technician who told me that we were doing electrical diagnosis. Like you follow an electrical diagram and figuring out what the problem was. After the training, he was so nervous that he was going to have to teach this and he couldn't comprehend some of the information. He watched the videos 11 times that week. Talk about someone who we knew, okay, what does that tell you about that person? They're motivated. They were 18 years old. They didn't want to look foolish. They wanted to learn the trade, and helped tremendously, because now it also opened up this, we talked early, and maybe this is before some of you guys got on about sometimes guys maybe not the best communicators. I know I'm not one of the best communicators. I think we were joking around with Matt when we said that. And we opened up the door for new techs to experience. We had guys from all the way from no experience to 20 years of experience. Because we were doing this training, the guys with the experience wanted to mentor and help the younger guys because we were having these open conversations every single week, which kind of broke down some barriers between old guard and new guard type stuff. And then the other thing that I think was really important, we implemented role playing, because in order for them to run the play, how do they do the call ahead? Where should they park their car? How do they walk to the front door of the house? How do they greet the customer? How do they do every single step of the process? It has to be trained and broken up into little tiny increments. And so we did that every single week on Tuesday. We had Communication Tuesday, which was a terrible name for the training, but didn't really ring a bell or wasn't super convenient. But the point is, no matter what, it didn't matter if it was 95 degrees in Wisconsin or it was 30 below. We were putting that training in place, and we had it every single week. We never moved it. If one of us leaders could not be there, someone else ran the training. And they did it every single week. And it just became part of our culture to always be training. And now what we've realized, because I used to do the training for the CSS team, and it used to be 3 days a week. I trained them on everything I knew. And somewhere along the lines, we got away from that a little bit. And we started realizing that some of our CSS team was focused more on some of the numbers and the data instead of the strategy, and learning what I knew and what Brittany knew from the trades. So we've gone back to that now, where now I am recording all of these things, all of the different things that we know. We're putting them into very small micro trains, and we're training 5 days a week for 15 to 20 minutes a day. Every single day, meeting in the morning, training on something, so that way that information's fresh. And it cannot be understated just how important training is to a team culture. It brings your team together. They can talk about the same things. They can all understand the same things. That way you have technician 1 through technician, however many you have, let's say 10, doing the same thing the same way every single day. And that's how you produce consistent results over and over and over again. So I just want to give a little bit of experience from the trades, because I know obviously we are a digital marketing company. So some of the stuff is a little different for us, but the principles apply to any business. And so, Brittany, I don't know what other thoughts you have on culture, because I took a few minutes there, which I usually end up doing. You warned me not to do before we started this conversation. But I wanted to make sure I hit those points in the trades, because these are things that act like I've actually implemented. So you can always ask us questions about these things so we can help you guys implement it for your business.
So I just want to just kind of recap a couple high level things for culture and then see if anyone has any questions. But the biggest things that I see for culture that are super important is listening to your employees, making them feel like they're a teammate, not a number. Make it feel like a second family to them, because they spend more time working than they do with their family most of the time. And truly, truly listen to your employees. They want to work somewhere where their opinion and their voices are heard. Make sure as a boss, you're a leader, not a boss. I really do think that that's a big one. And then I think the last thing that I would say is having a safe place for your employees to talk about how they feel, what they're looking for, really will make a difference. And I always say, you may not always pay the most money, but if they have those things and they feel like they're wanted and they're heard, they're going to stay with you and they're going to be super loyal and help you grow your company. So those are the biggest things high level that I think are truly important as culture. And then of course, getting your team to praise other employees. So having some sort of system for that is huge. Like I know a lot of people will pay their tax for getting reviews and things like that, and that's great. But try to incorporate something where your employees are saying good things and praising other teammates. That will really create an amazing culture for you guys.
Well, and that's even something that we've recently done. So we have the Thursday shout outs, which is it's all digital communication through Slack. But one of the things we started having every month, we have a US team meeting where we get everyone together and go over numbers for the company, retention rates, just different things we're implementing. And one of the things that we start saving the last 10 to 15 minutes for, and we've done this for like the last 3 months, is shout outs as in person as we can get as a remote company, because spoken words and seeing the emotion and the passion somebody's sharing means a lot more sometimes than just a written word. And it also feeds, you guys as leaders, you have to be looking for those opportunities to shout team members out. Sometimes it may be a little forced, just being real with you guys, but you start the ball rolling, or the snowball rolling downhill. And another team member was like, oh yeah, hey, Doug did a great job this week on this install. He really crushed it with his customer with a hard question. And then Doug's wanting to praise somebody else because he got praised. And it creates this ecosystem of happy, friendly people that actually like each other. And if they all like each other, it's just like you've any of you guys that follow sports, these sports teams that do amazing things, they usually don't do it with a crappy culture. The culture is they're thick as leaves. They are best friends. They have each other's back. They'll go to war with each other. And that's the type of company that can really grow. But in order to do that, we have to facilitate as leaders the opportunity for them to say those things and mean those things. So there's always ways to improve these things. These are things that we've implemented even recently, just because we thought that there's a way we could improve and do more than what we were already doing. So with that being said, I know we're up at the top of the hour. I didn't see a ton of questions in the channel. I know we talked about a lot, but I would love if you guys want to stick around and just chit chat. And even if you're having a problem with someone and you don't know how to deal with it, Brittany and myself are always, well, mostly Brittany. She's better at handling this sorts of things. I always put myself in there, and I realize I should just don't do
I was
that.
going to say that too. Just
offer
let
Brittany up.
Yeah.
But feel free to stick around. We're happy to talk through those things with you guys and just ask you some questions and stuff, because this stuff is so important. It does not get talked about enough. There's not really a forum to go and just talk about this stuff, because if you put it on Facebook, you don't know what kind of answers you're going to get. You could have people that hate their company and hate their people, and you're getting advice from them. So yeah, feel free if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question. Otherwise, if you guys need to jet, this is all going to be recorded. It's going to be put in our, you'll see the recap email with the password and the link to get to it. You can reference it at any time. So maybe if some of the stuff doesn't make sense now, or you only want to implement 1 or 2 things, you want to come back to this training in 6 months, you can certainly do that.
Oh, and then I just need to reiterate one more thing just to make sure that it's super clear. You might not be the right person to do the hiring. So passing that along to someone that has the skill set to do that will make a huge difference as well. That is a huge thing.
I'm living proof of it.
Josh is,
My face is plastered on everything, but I am not the person that makes the hiring decisions. We just hired 2 new SEO strategists. I met them for the first time yesterday after this was their second day working with us. I never met them before. And that's happening more and more frequent because I am just not the best fit for that. And making sure, like, it's a gut punch realizing that you're not the best person for that. But most people do know that. And sometimes you may need someone to tell you that. I have someone very good in my corner that does tell me these things, but it's okay. It's okay to not be that person, as long as there's a lens that makes sure that, you have some guardrails in place to make sure that they're someone you trust that is doing the hiring.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also just want you guys to know, in the chat, I did put my email. So if you guys didn't see it, like, if you want to talk anytime about hiring culture, I have lots to share, a lot more than I shared today. I have lots to share, and I truly enjoy helping people. So please feel free, like, if you have any questions or anything, you can email me, we can get on a call. My passion in life is literally to help people. So if I can help in any way, please reach out.
With that being said, do we have any questions? Anything anyone wants to talk about while we're all here?
Well, I'll step in then.
Go ahead, man.
All right. So much like you, Josh, I'm not the man for hiring. I've realized that. So I'm still involved, but we do it with a team now. I've got 3 of us that we get together and kind of work through this, bounce things off of each other, which does help greatly. Because we're kind of out in the country. There's not a lot of plumbers out there looking, or anybody even wanting to get into the trade hardly. So a lot of times unfortunately, I've just hired bodies. And I know a lot of people in the trade know exactly what I'm talking about. And it never works out. You know it when you hire them, but you're like, I need somebody, and you do it anyway, knowing it's going to fail. So I guess this is probably more of a Brittany question, but I would love to possibly get a list of the questions that you ask people to try to kind of get to know them very quickly in that interview and kind of understand what they're about. I mean, we kind of have some, but I'm sure you guys have probably got something better than we do, just to understand that person and see who we're working with.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. I can send over some questions to you. Let me just ask you a question on what you said. So there's 3 of you guys that do the interviews. Do you guys do them all at once together?
If everybody's available at that time, yes.
Okay.
We at least have people sit in so that they're catching everything. We're kind of rate the person. We've got a little rating sheet that we kind of go through, each one of us, sit down and discuss to see, kind of rate them. Is it worth talking to again, or do we keep looking for the next and the next, or what have you? So yeah, we do it all together.
Do you guys have different questions that each one of you guys ask based on your skill set?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that works pretty well?
Better than what we've done in the past anyway. How about that?
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely send you some questions, because I feel like once you actually get to know the person, you'll know very quickly if they're going to be a good fit or not, because it's so expensive to hire someone that's not going to work out long term. It costs you a lot of money. That's just not worth it. If you can prevent that, I think you'll be much better off.
Absolutely.
But I'll send those over to you, Matt.
Okay. And then I guess also kind of along the same line, prior to having the interview, are there any tips, tricks, strategies as far as marketing, advertising to try to get somebody's attention to come apply an interview for that position? To get that good person to come look for this job?
Hey, that's a Josh question. All right.
Hey, Josh.
All right. Whew. I was hoping they're not going to all be Brittany questions, but that's fine if they were. Honestly, biggest thing is, and Nadine knows this because we're even doing more with our team, is treating them like you treat your customers, getting reviews on review sites, getting testimonials from them about what it's like to work with you. Because if you think about it, you're marketing to just a different audience. You're marketing to someone that you want to work with you versus someone you want to go work inside their home for. And it's really no different. The difference is we don't treat it the same way. And so we treat it like, oh, well, they must want to come to us because they want to get paid. And it's always kind of that type of relationship versus I want to attract the most talented people that want to work at a company like ours because of our values, because of the things we put out, because of what other people that work here say about our business. But we have to, again, we have to facilitate it with asking them to record themselves, especially, you know, some of your key players, some of these people that are key employees for you that you trust to help with the interview process. Get them on camera saying what it's like to work with you. Post that stuff. Obviously, make sure that they're okay with it. But there's sites like glassdoor.com and stuff like that where you think about like AI search. Well, that stuff is all fed into these algorithms. So it's like, hey, what is it like to work for Relentless Digital? Those sites are all being canvassed during with these AI bots that are doing the searching. They're putting together an answer for that person. So those things can all help a lot. And it's just you're just marketing to a different type of person. And
let me add one more to that, to what you said. Those are all great. The other thing that I hear all the time is your job post spoke to me. So when you're putting your job description together, make sure it has your core values. Why does people want to work for you? Why are you different? And what are they going to get out of it?
Fit. Yeah, put out who's not a good fit too.
Yes.
Because you don't want those people to waste your time.
Yeah. People will say, I saw your job description, like it spoke to me, like this sounds exactly like who I am and where I want to be. So having a really good job description will also be a great impact.
Well, and that's why we implemented an applicant tracking system too, because we didn't want lead. I mean, granted, now some of this is a little different, right? I know that there's, like Matt in your example, there's not probably 500 people applying for one position, unless it's a remote CSR or something, a remote office person. So it's a little different for us, but by having an applicant tracking system that has some yes, no questions, some one-way video interview questions, and then some like long form answer questions, we only usually do 2 to 3 questions per thing. We see if they're actually serious about this or they're just filling it out because they got to fill it out for unemployment. There's a big difference. So we're not going to waste our time if you don't care enough to fill these things out. Now, that may make hiring a new team member a lot slower, but we also, by the time we meet with them, we know they're serious and we know they actually want this job. They're actually fighting to come work for us instead of us fighting to get them in the door. There's a difference. And so that way that's a process that we control versus they control.
Okay. And we run into that quite often, that we get applications. Sometimes they've got a resume with it, sometimes they don't. And it's like, okay, this looks like a 6-year-old kid filled this out. You know, it's missed this, didn't answer these questions, no reference, whatever.
Those are all signs, right? Those are all signs about how are they, like, that's the whole thing is like, we have people, they probably have a great resume. Some of the questions, I'll let you know on the interview. It's like, no, you'll let us know now. Otherwise you're not going to work for us. And that's the thing. We have to set the expectation and set the bar for because otherwise, if we keep lowering that standard, then you get people coming in your office working for you that you really wouldn't put in your grandma's house. You know what I mean? So It's important that we set the bar and set the expectation, even though that's sometimes more painful for us because we may not be able to fill that position right away.
Very true. And I know I get a kick out of it. My wife. She is very good with proofing, spell check, formatting, things of that nature. That's her little niche, I guess. And she'll print it out real quick, glance at it. She'll mark it up, hand it to me. She goes, you do what you want, but they can't even send in a decent resume. I don't. And I'm like, well, first off, they're plumbers. We're not, looking for this, monster job here at the university or something. We're plumbers. I understand spelling a little bit. And she's like, well, there's spell check. And they've got this and that at their fingertips. So I'm like, oh, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Smartest thing you could say, Matt. Your wife is right.
You're probably right.
Yeah, because all you're doing is making excuses. Like, plumbers are not dumb. They are very smart and they know how to utilize things. So it's just them being lazy, which means if they go to a plumbing job, are they going to be lazy? Or are they going to half-ass the job? So that's what I think about.
I think you absolutely nailed it right there. Being lazy. And yes, that is going to come in the door with them. So 100%.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, those are great questions, Matt. And like I said, I will send that over to you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Does anyone else have questions? Don't all speak at once. Hopefully, you guys aren't all sleeping behind your cameras that are turned off.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Chris.
Are most of you going through Indeed to try to bring candidates in the door, or are there ever other avenues that you found work better to help attract? Like I've tried Facebook ads with some success, but it seems like mostly it's Indeed, and anymore it's starting to get pretty expensive.
Yeah, so for us, because we work in more of a white collar industry, it is easier for us to find people on Indeed just because it's like the main hiring hub. One thing that I did in the trades is we geofenced. Now, there's certain rules on Facebook ads on this. So I think it's like a 15-mile. You can't like geofence a small building like a supply house. But typically supply houses are in like an industrial area or in the same area, but you can do like a 15-mile radius of geofencing that area as well. So those things can kind of help as doing like a geo-targeted advertisement.
Okay.
And then getting to know the bartenders of the trade, which are the guys that sit at the counter of the supply house. They know everything about everyone and who's unhappy and maybe sometimes there might be an arrangement of them sending the good employees to you or making mention of a name. Just there's some creative things you can do in there that won't really work for us. That's right. Anyways.
Okay.
I'll also add to that, Chris. When I worked as a territory sales manager and I was at the supply house, I knew the front guys really well. Like they literally knew everything. We've had contractor owners come in and be like, hey, do you know anyone that's looking, that's unhappy? And they'll pass that information along. So getting to know your supply guys is awesome. Just be really nice to them.
Yeah.
Right.
I would also, but again, and Chris, this is a little different tactic, but that does anyone know Derek Cormier in this group?
I never heard of them.
They put out some amazing social media content for contractors. They're always having fun and their team members help make these videos. I will get the link for Nadine to their social media accounts to take a look, but engaging, especially since you guys are obviously we're remote and you guys mostly are probably in person.
Climate experts. They're in Florida. Thank you, Brittany. Yep. They and other companies do a great job of incorporating their team into these content pieces. So that it looks from like, I've had Derek on the podcast, so I know him pretty well, but it looks from the outside like these guys have a lot of fun. This looks like a great place to work. That can attract people, even if you're not looking. And that's my point about attraction marketing. There's things you can do regularly and consistently that may not immediately fill up your email with 20 different resumes, but over time, if you consistently do it, people will try to find you. Ali was Climate Experts. They're in Melbourne, Florida, I think, or somewhere in southern Florida. They have blue shirt, blue and yellow colors. I think a penguin on their logo. But there's other examples of that. But they're the ones that I actually watch their I don't watch a lot of trade content, but I watch theirs because it's very entertaining and it looks like fun. Like if I was in a company in the trades, I want to go work for someone like them that looks like they actually have fun and they enjoy each other's company. So there's Chris, as far as like organic things that you can do, and those things can get posted because your technicians are not necessarily looking at Indeed, but they're looking at YouTube, they're looking at Instagram, they're looking at TikTok, Facebook. That's where they hang out. So we have to put content where they hang out so they can actually know that we exist.
Yeah, fair enough.
Was that helpful?
It was. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. Awesome. You guys got anything else?
I'm sorry, I was muted there. I apologize. I'd like to add something to that if you don't mind. We've done the Indeed, the Monster, the ZipRecruiter, all those things. We did the, buy the big package sort of thing, spend lots of money, hoping we get in front of a lot of people. We even had some of these that we surprisingly got our money back because we never got the first candidate, even though we were spending big bucks for it. So I just had the free Indeed account for the longest time now, never got anything. But my post out there looked just like everybody else's. There was nothing eye-catching about it. There was nothing that probably even made somebody click on it, open it up, and take a peek at it. My daughter got a hold to it, much younger, social media minded, that sort of thing. She got a hold to it, just dressed it up a little bit, just added some things to it. Really kind of, I say fluffed it up. That's probably not the best term for it, but dressed it up. How about that? And we started getting a good number of applicants off of the free Indeed account that we weren't seeing anything for like years, just with the standard post out there. So spend a little bit of time on that Indeed account and really, make yourself stand out. It will or can work for you, but if you're looking like the other posts out there, probably not.
Matt, are we talking about putting some personality into the?
Yeah, one, really explaining what you're looking for, what you want, a little bit about your company, some personality. I know some people had really good luck with having a little bit of humor in their post or what have you. But yeah, you got to dress it up. It can't look like everybody else's. And I'm not an expert, but I just know from my personal experience, it was a game changer.
Yeah, well, I think that ties in with what he's saying about this climate experts, which I opened up their Facebook and I can see that they're fairly entertaining.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about social, you guys all being in different markets, you find an idea that you think your team can do and wants to do, just swipe and deploy it. Nobody's going to know because you're in a completely
Right.
different market and a different trade.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing. Follow some people that do some good stuff. Swipe and deploy. Don't reinvent the wheel on this stuff. Don't make it more complicated than it has to be. Just implement with some velocity, and you guys will find improvements with that. Cool. All right,
Good.
guys. I got to get to an offsite appointment. Really appreciate you hanging out with us. Brittany, thank you for lending your expertise and yelling at me only a couple times today. I appreciate you not putting me on blast the whole time. But
I thought about it.
you guys have questions, Brittany put her email in there. We'll put it in the fall. Don't hesitate to schedule that meeting. You're not burdening her. She loves help. Like, she really means it when she says she loves helping. So ask her any questions you have about this stuff. She loves this topic.
And thank you guys for joining today. I really appreciate that.
Well, thanks for putting this together. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Have a good day, guys.
Take
Thanks,
care.
guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.